this evening. GECOM responds to several public statements calling for internal probes into suspicions of electoral fraud. U.S. Ambassador sees incredible tourism opportunities in Guyana. New technologies being pursued to ensure environmentally friendly shipping. In the region, Lula's lead over Bolsonaro widens days before Brazil's elections. And internationally, flooding, power cuts as Hurricane Ian crashes ashore in Florida. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. The Guyana Elections Commission has taken note that recently there have been numerous public pronouncements calling for the Commission to conduct internal investigations into allegations of electoral fraud that were reported to have occurred during March 2, 2020 general and regional elections. GECOM, in a press release, stated that in this regard, it is of crucial importance to take note that Article 163 of the Constitution of Guyana stipulates that, subject to the provision of this article, the High Court shall have exclusive jurisdiction to determine any questions whether, either generally or in any particular place, an election has been lawfully conducted or the result thereof has been or might have been affected by any unlawful act or omission. Accordingly, the Commission takes this opportunity to acknowledge that correspondence listing the names of persons who were allegedly either deceased or out of the jurisdiction on the date of the elections was received from APNU AFC during the national recount and sent to the Registrar General and Chief Immigration Officer, respectively, for verification. However, notwithstanding this action having been taken, GECOM could not have taken any further action in this matter, since to do so would have been a contravention of Article 163 of the Constitution. The fact that the national recount had established that more votes were cast in favor of the People's Progressive Party Civic, the onus was on the APNUAFC to file an election petition to determine the validity of the allegations of unlawful acts such as voters' impersonation. In view of the foregoing, the Guyana Elections Commission is reminding all stakeholders, specifically political parties, that the operations of GECOM are and will continue to be guided by the Constitution and the relevant laws for the conduct of registration and elections. The United States Ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Lynch, says the future of tourism in Guyana is bright, even as she commended the work of local tourism stakeholders. The ambassador was speaking on Monday evening at an event hosted at her residence of the World Tourism Day. She said Guyana has been making significant strides in the sector and lauded the government for especially at the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. She noted that government's statistics, which shows that Guyana has already witnessed a 103% increase in visitors' arrivals between January and May of this year, as well as the visit by the National Geographic, HBO's Delon Efron, and others who highlighted the incredible tourism opportunities here. The ambassador also shared some ideas for modernization based on feedback she received, which mostly revolved around enabling online access to products and information, lowering the prices of excursion, and facilitating easier payment systems. She said tourists have recommended that lodges detail clear prices for services including site tours and food. She further stated that the embassy supported local entrepreneurs and will be happy to collaborate and offer insights on the marketing of their products. Infrastructure and availability of quality healthcare were also highlighted as being crucial to the tourism sector. The missing 12-year-old female student of Wales Primary School and of Wales West Bank Demerara, who had been reported missing earlier this week, was discovered in a home in Quarantine Berbice during the early hours of this morning. Acting on information received, ranks of the Guyana Police Force went to a house on 12th Street, Wilm Village in Quarantine Berbice around 1 a.m. this morning and conducted a search. The missing girl was subsequently found during the search. The three occupants of the home, a male, a female, and their teenage son, were taken into custody and escorted to the Wilm Police Station, where they are assisting with the investigations. Stick around after the break. Luzignan prison undergoing a multi-billion-dollar rehabilitation, and new technologies are being pursued to ensure environmentally friendly shipping.
Guyana goes on show from September 16th to October 2nd for the first ever Cricket Carnival with an exciting lineup of parties, concerts, pageants, CPL cricket semis and finals, and Carnival Costumes Parade. Book your tickets now. For more information, log on to cricketcarnival592.com or our social media pages. Come and experience our people, our food, and culture from September 16th to October 2nd.
The sixer! That's the first of the night.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. The multi-billion-dollar rehabilitation of the Luzignan prison is set to be completed soon and will see a massive reduction in the overcrowding of inmates at the East Coast Demerara facility. With Guyana's prison population standing at some 30 to 38% over the capacity, the upgrades will allow some 1,000 prisoners to be accommodated in keeping with the international requirements. Prisoners will be housed in a dormitory-style setting furnished with beds and mattresses, unlike the holding bay facility. The prison will have a large building subdivided into prison cells at lots 4 to 6. The construction of the cell blocks at Lot 6 is ahead of schedule, while works on Lots 4 and 5 are awaiting the arrival of steel cells from North America. Upgrades to the facility will also accommodate a female prison, which will see the relocation of female prisoners from the New Amsterdam prison. Works on the building are about 30% completed and are also awaiting a shipment of steel cells from North America. Additionally, works on the prison's vocational schools is 75% completed. The school will facilitate training to upgrade inmates while mitigating recidivism. The structure works conjointly with the Home Affairs Minister's Fresh Start initiative. Ongoing projects to facilitate an infirmary annex and overhead water storage tanks and water treatment plants, which commenced in January, were also examined and are almost completed. Construction for the outer perimeter fence is 55% completed and is advancing according to specifications. As Guyana joins the rest of the world today in celebrating World Maritime Day 2022, the government, through the Maritime Administration Department, is pursuing new technologies to attain a safe and environmentally friendly shipping industry. This year, World Maritime Day is being celebrated under the theme New Technologies for Greener Shipping and reflects the need to support a green transition of the maritime sector into a sustainable future while leaving no one behind. Director General of MARIT, Captain Stephen Thomas, on Wednesday said Guyana would spare no effort to obtain safer and greener seas as ships transport a vast majority of goods. In this regard, Captain Thomas said the Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030 underscores the national vision for sustainable economic development and will benefit future generations of Guyanese. The objective of the LCDS includes the stimulation of future growth and the utilization of clean energy to preserve the ocean and maritime resources. Captain Thomas further stated that shipping plays a fundamental role in delivering green fuel globally and will act as an enabler for governments and industries to achieve greater prospects. Guyana signed a 2050 Paris Climate Agreement, which aims to achieve global climate reduction in emission by 2050. As a demonstration of government's commitment to a reduction of the emission, which is crucial to the protection of the planet and future generations. Don't go away after the break. Flooding, power cuts as Hurricane Ian crashes ashore in Florida, and EU NATO says Nord Stream gas pipelines were sabotaged.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Hey yo, GT Massive, this is Double M. All hear me out. Right now it's all about the Marshall Super Concert, October 1st. Right here. It's cricket, it's carnival, it's soca in Guyana. Hey, ha!
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has widened his lead over incumbent Jair Bolsonaro less than a week before one of the most divisive presidential elections in Brazil's history. Al Jazeera's Lucy Newman reports.
a remote dirt road in northeastern Brazil, the country's poorest region. This is where Heraldo Santos takes us to see where his cousin Luis Inácio Lula da Silva was born, or at least an exact replica of the home of Dona Lindu, Lula's mother. The original fell down years ago. This was the typical house of subsistence farmers, made of mud and coconut tree sticks, with no running water or electricity.
Essa história, ela tem que ser contada para as futuras gerações.
It's important to reconstruct this story for future generations so that they can assimilate Lula's story and realize that they too can fight for collective justice in these times of individualism.
This was the bedroom where the family of 10 slept, and this suitcase was used as a closet until Lula's mother, who was illiterate, decided to take all of her children to Sao Paulo, never dreaming who one of her youngest sons would eventually become. Lula began working at the age of 14 and went on to become a formidable trade union leader and founder of the Workers' Party, or PT. He had little formal education, but an abundance of charisma and negotiating skills. In 2003, Lula became Brazil's first working-class president. He introduced sweeping social reforms to combat poverty and lift the station of working-class Brazilians, from providing education to fresh water access for people like Paulo Gomes.
I began to love Lula long ago like a father, a hero, because honestly, he embraces the cause of the poor.
Massive housing projects also helped lift 33 million people from poverty during his 2 terms, which coincided with a boom in prices for Brazilian commodities. Brazil's economy soared. Yet all was not well. Nagging charges of corruption had long surrounded him and his political party. A multi-billion-dollar graft scandal exploded after he left office in 2010, just as the economy began regressing. Millions of Brazilians turned on Lula, demanding he go to jail.
If Lula is not in prison, he will return to power and keep stealing. He's the ringleader of them all.
He was convicted and imprisoned on charges of money laundering and corruption, which he denied, but was released 18 months later when the Supreme Court ruled that all of Lula's convictions be annulled because of suspect procedural practices. Now, 12 years after he left office with more than 80% approval ratings, an older and perhaps more cautious Lula has returned, promising to bring back better days, especially for the poor. The big question is, can he pull it off again? Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Caetés, Pernambuco, Brazil.
One of the most powerful storms to hit the United States in years have made landfall in the heavily populated Gulf Coast regions. Streets are flooded in parts of Florida, and emergency services says some people are trapped in their homes. Al Jazeera's Heidi Zucastro reports.
With wind speeds topping 250 kilometers per hour, Hurricane Ian ripped across Florida's Gulf Coast Wednesday afternoon. Waves turned streets into rivers. Florida's governor warning the worst may still be to come.
It is going to have major impacts in terms of wind, in terms of rain, in terms of flooding. So this is going to be a nasty day, 2 days.
Tens of thousands of homes are without power as utility workers from 27 states prepare to descend as soon as the storm clears. About 2.5 million people were ordered to evacuate, but some stayed behind, risking everything.
It's my home. It's the only thing I have. I mean, and my mother, if that goes, then what do you do?
It's been decades since a hurricane of this magnitude hit Florida's western coast. Curiosity drew some people out onto an exposed seabed earlier Wednesday, the water temporarily sucked away by the storm's low pressure.
It's so dangerous to be out there, so even if you see the water receding, it's not the time to go out there and look at it or collect shells or whatever it is.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of catastrophic storm surge, winds, and flooding across Florida. As people sheltered in place, President Joe Biden said the federal government would help with search and rescue and recovery. He is also warning the oil and gas industry not to raise gas prices.
Do not Let me repeat, do not use this as an excuse to raise gasoline prices or gouge the American people.
Ian's slow movement across Florida means the state will likely be pummeled for days to come. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera.
And internationally, security at European energy sites has been stepped up after the Nord Stream gas pipelines were seriously damaged. An investigation is underway to find out what has caused the 3 huge gas leaks, which European leaders says are the results of sabotage, Al Jazeera's Steph Weston reports.
A controversial project from the start, worth billions of dollars, is now as good as dead. Nord Stream 1 and 2 were not transporting gas to Germany at the time of the leaks, but looking at the extent of the damage, experts wonder if they will ever be used again. While it's still anyone's guess who is responsible for what looks like an attack on the pipelines, the leaks reveal how vulnerable Europe's energy supply is, especially since Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
We're in a serious situation in Europe. We've long been aware that the Baltic Sea is an area of higher tensions. Look at the rhetoric around Finland and Sweden's membership of NATO. The Baltic Sea is an area where you have to expect this.
Many in Europe have accused Russia of sabotaging their own pipelines and speculated that more attacks could come. Moscow has rejected these accusations, saying it's the Americans who benefit most from the price of gas going up. Analysts say a high level of expertise is needed to cause this kind of damage.
You need infrastructure for it, you need equipment for it, you need money for it, you need expertise for it. It can't be done that easily. So there's a couple of organizations only that can actually do this, which also means you can hedge. That means you bring in probably a lot more intelligence than military to anticipate anything that might happen. And that might lead to a much more secure system.
Hundreds of millions of cubic meters of gas which were left in the pipelines has been pouring into the Baltic Sea. The main gas leaking from Nord Stream into the Baltic Sea is methane. This has a much larger impact on global warming than the CO2 if the gas is burned, depending on how much of it is absorbed by seawater and how much goes up in the air. Experts say it could do as much damage to the climate as the CO2 emissions of a middle-large city like Helsinki for an entire year. Just a few days before the leaks were detected, hundreds of Germans held a rally demanding that the government start operating Nord Stream 2. Like many in Europe, Germans are struggling to pay their energy bills after Russia cut supplies in response to sanctions imposed by the West.
To make sure that we have reasonably priced gas again and that the sanctions are ended. That's why I'm here.
Germany has been looking for alternatives to Russian gas. The damaged Nord Stream pipes have made it even more clear that the country needs a more secure supply of energy. Steph Weston, Al Jazeera in Luzignan on the Baltic Sea.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Update. Tune in on Friday at 5:30 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.